he just reminded us how awesome he thinks his brother is, and
he's a good big brother.
He was a good big brother. And he was the one that encouraged him to go to college. And yeah, and he lived with us shortly after came home. And then he and Sylvia got married and lived with us for a short time till they got a place. When we lived in Trotwood. Do you remember that?
I don't remember them living with us, no.
I remember, you know what I remember? The first time Uncle Tom brought Aunt Sylvia to our house, you were fascinated with her big boobs.
You get that on tape?
And Sylvia was busty, and so she was Jenny was, I forget how Jenny was, but how old were you? You don't remember that, do you?
No, yeah.
So you were like 3 or 4, and Jenny was just fascinated with her.
Yeah, we moved away from there when was my 4th grade, so
Yeah, they
we
were.
would probably been second
And
grade.
of course, I was
kindergarten.
embarrassed for Sylvia because she hadn't met any of us. That was her first time there.
Well, do you remember them being there, Mark?
You don't remember that?
I remember him. I think I remember seeing him in his army uniform once,
Yeah, that would have been when
but I don't
when he first
remember
came
them
home.
living with us.
And then he went back to Cedarville, and that's where he met Sylvia, because he was kicked out of Cedarville the first time, I think for smoking. And so they let him back in after he was in the army.
You want to tell your golfing story?
You got in trouble for listening to the Carpenters.
I did. Not quite smoking. You want to tell Dad's golfing story?
I could. So, as you all know, you and Dad kept golfing after his dementia diagnosis or whatever, and it wasn't real bad yet, but since he could still play golf, he and I and my friend John, I don't remember if there was anybody else, you weren't with us, were you? Was here. Anyway, so it was already where he wasn't remembering things like where he just hit his ball. So as we all hit our shots and then go out and look for them, we're playing a par 3 where typically you hit your first shot onto the green. So there's a brand of ball called a Pro Staff, and that's the kind of ball he was using that particular day. So we all hit our shots onto the green, and then we all go up to find our own ball so that we can putt. So he walks onto the green and he looks down and he says, "Is that my prostate?" My friend John says, "I hope not." So anyway, that's one.
Well, just if I can add something to the golf, you know, Dad encouraged me to learn to play, which I did barely, but he was always the encourager and made me feel like I was really doing well when I really wasn't. I mean, I'm just not a golfer, but he made me feel like I was a real golfer.
You always
I
told me.
remember him gushing about you being a
Yes.
good golfer. Even, I mean, we had no clue one way or the other because we hadn't seen you play, but he would, you know, he was proud of that.
Yeah.
And
Proud of the way
my,
you
my,
tried. You know.
my memory about you starting golfing with him is when you retired from the college, one of your comments to me was, "Oh, Peggy, he's gonna want me to go golfing with him." and then,
Really?
but then his diagnosis came, and you did an immediate change of attitude about the golfing, and that's something I remember.
Oh, that's interesting. I don't remember that because I really did enjoy.
I was gonna say, I think you, after the fact, you liked that.
Yeah. It was. Yeah, we enjoyed, and we had so much fun out there. One day we got out and we got caught in a downpour, and so we got under a tree, and then it slacked off, and so we started to play again, and so I started dancing and singing in the rain, you know, and he got in the act too, and so we were both dancing and singing in the rain.
Now, that's what we need a video of.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what.
That's what we need a video of. That would be fantastic.
I
Well,
he wouldn't, in the heat of the summer, 100 degrees out, he wouldn't drink any water on the golf course because they didn't want to have to go pee. And I'm like, there's trees everywhere. What, drink water. Stay hydrated.
I never drank any water either. Think for that.
Probably because he didn't. You guys just didn't have it with him. Yeah.
And you always walked, didn't you?
Well, you always pay 9 holes too, so.
We walked.
So apparently the key to a long life is not to drink, not to stay hydrated.
Hydrated, yeah.
When you're out in the sun. Barry, when you're talking about how he gushed about the golf and was proud of her for golfing, I was telling Mom this earlier that when I would come visit and stuff while Mom was still working and Dad was retired, and then I would be visiting with Dad, he would just go on and on about how much Mom knew because she worked at the college. She could be running the college if she,
Right.
and it was in the context of he didn't agree with the high priority over a degree to have a certain job, that your experience should mean as much.
Sure.
And that's when he would say, your mom could run the college.
Right.
He goes, she'd never be allowed to without a degree, but she
Right.
could run the college.
That's true.
Yeah, he was an encourager, and he always told me after he got his degrees that I deserved those too because I typed his papers for him and.
Mm-hmm.
Bless you.
Of course, that's his bond with Dad, is Dad teaching him to golf. And even as recently as one of the final times you guys came up to Wisconsin after his Alzheimer's diagnosis, and TJ realizing he kind of needed to be keeping an eye on it, on Grandpa. But
Well, Eric has a little different take because Eric said that his grandpa got kind of mad at him and scolded him because he was fooling around. Dad was trying to teach him how to play golf, and Eric really didn't care that much. So Eric he's putting and he's got his feet like this, and he said Grandpa scolded him and said, "Now this is serious. This is not nothing you mess around with."
I
Oh, Dad,
have
you
a
seriously.
story. Chad came down one day. Well, I think it was prom, and he tied his tie. And I said, "Oh, did Dad teach you how to tie your tie?" And he said, "No, Grandpa did." And I'm like, "When did Grandpa teach you to tie a tie?" He's
Wow.
like, "One time that we were over there, Grandpa and I just tied ties." I'm like, "Okay."
oh, that's neat.
Something that really was dear to me is, I don't know if you've ever noticed any of your dad's books, but he's got little
No, I
pieces of
didn't know
paper
you
in them.
Yeah.
Very.
Those were his gems. If he had something he would find on a sheet, a page, he'd put a little tear, whatever he had handy, and stick in there. And those were his gems. Anyway, I think you said Chad does the same thing.
He asked me if one day he said, "Did Grandpa mark his books?" And I said, I have no idea what you're talking about. And he goes, "Well, I need to talk to Grandma." And yeah, then he said he does that same exact thing he's got little post-it notes that he rips off, and he's like, "This is important," and he marks it. And George is like, because she asked, "Why do you have little pieces of paper sticking out of all your books?"
Well, it's funny that you mentioned that, like he was following what Dad would do. Well, when TV guys used to be small, I would buy it, and the first thing I would do is rip out all the ads so I could look through it. Well, Dad and I were talking about it one time, and he said, he said, "I do the exact same thing. That's the first thing I do when I get it is I tear all the ads out." I thought that was pretty cool. All this time we've been doing it all this time.
I know.
He used to amaze me because we'd go to the Ohio State games. You probably went on occasions, and we would park seemingly in another city and walk what seemed like for hours and by all these, sororities and fraternities and. Some
games?
was cool because a lot of the students were into the games and things, but I just could never figure out how he could find his way back to the car. It was so far. It seemed so far to me.
We parked on 5th Street, so we did walk 5 blocks to the stadium. but he knew he knew the territory.
Well, it
so
seemed like
he-
5 miles to me.
Yeah, oh, I
Well, he's
know.
done that for
Especially on a
50
cold
years,
day.
too.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he knew it like the back of his hand, but and when going into Long's bookstore.
Yeah.
Over the years, we noticed how much the campus changed. It used to be nice and clean, and then it was a while before we had gone to a game, and we went to a game, and there was litter everywhere. They probably had a party the night before, but we'd never encountered that all the years that that was the biggest change we noticed.
I went to what I think I'm not sure if this is the first movie I ever went to. It seemed like it was to me because we didn't really go. But certainly with Dad, after a Buckeye game, they had in the student hall they had Jaws.
Oh.
The movie Jaws, and we went and saw that, and it was great. Yeah. And
Really?
again, I don't know if I'd been to a movie theater at that point. I'm
I
not
wouldn't.
sure about that.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't recall. Maybe when we were really little, but this was when I was, I don't know, 13 or 14, I guess, probably, something like that. So, yeah.
I was probably already away then.
Yeah, it was just when
You're what? We're 6 years or so.
Yeah.
So if you were 13, I would have been gone. Yeah.
In 53,
Well, we were married on the day
59.
of an Ohio State game, so your dad said it had to be in the evening, so nobody would have to miss the game.
Wasn't there a story
you
with?
dared to have Mark during the Indiana game, right?
Yeah, that's-
Wasn't it Mark?
Yes, and he debated, he told me later, he wanted to
Because he
go
hadn't
to
missed
that
a game in years, right? He hadn't missed a home game in quite a
No,
while.
he
Right.
hadn't missed a home game in 14 years.
Yeah.
And so he debated whether to go, but he wisely chose to stay.
Yeah, that's fine.
The other thing was he was always a stickler about keys and things. Like he wouldn't let you have his keys, or he was afraid you wouldn't get them back or they'd get lost. Now I understand.
Oh yeah, he still made us knock on the door to let us in.
Jenny and John have, they know that firsthand. Dad made it, he wouldn't, what was it?
He wouldn't
Well,
give
let me
them
have
the
the
keys,
key
so
to
they'd
the
have to
house.
knock when they got
Oh,
home.
yeah, right.
So you know what time they got in, I guess.
No, I don't think it was that,
You
it
just didn't
was
wanna give him a key?
security. He wanted to keep the doors locked, and he wanted to know
For sure that they were locked at
that
the
they
Yeah,
were
no
locked
keys.
after they got in.
No keys were outside of the house, right? Regardless if you had them.
I remember there were times when Jenny would come home and just throw their keys down on the floor. I'd be like Charlie Brown or somebody. I'd walk up to the keys, look down at the floor, and then I'd look over at her, and then look back down at the floor until she picked them up.
I haven't done that in a long time.
Probably the things that your dad brought people joy. We would walk to daycare, and there's lots of traffic out here, so a lot of people knew us because we walked every day in the summertime, and so people would honk, and sometimes people would go by with music with you could hear it, loud music, and he would, if it was the right kind of music, he got into it, and then one time we just crossed over to this little park over here, and I don't know what got into him, and he just grabbed me and gave me a great big bear hug, and people are going by honking, And then he would, in the store, if we were in the store, he would ask if people had kids in their car, he would ask them how much they cost.
Oh.
And what I never knew was, at his stage, was he just kidding? Or
Yeah.
did he not know what he was saying?
Right.
And sometimes I think he still had that humor. that
Yeah.
He had,
Well, Peggy, you were saying this morning about him saying,
Oh, when I was visiting, and I mean, by this time we knew Dad didn't remember us anymore, but I came and was visiting, and it just seemed like several times that visit, I'd walk around the corner and he'd be like surprised to see me. But one time I walk around the corner and he's like, well, who are you? And I'm like, I am your daughter. And he's like, what?
Well, he had that for a while there had, right around the time he started, apparently, maybe even before we knew about it, he would have that little put on. I'm not sure it was a put on now, as far as,
Sure.
who are you, or
Yeah.
whatever. Kind of just kidding around. It
Yeah.
appeared.
Yeah.
And maybe part of that was that he was just in there, just starting to not necessarily recollect certain things.
Yeah.
Because I never thought about it at the time.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
that
he
just seemed funny at the time.
Well, they get
he'd say, who are you?
Yeah,
So he did that legitimately
Yes.
to be funny, like early on,
Right,
and then so
but
he kept
kind
doing
of-
it. Probably partly for some season
Yeah.
it was a
It
cover
was
up.
a habit.
They
And
get
then it
very,
became
they get very
legitimate.
good at being vague and able to have a conversation without knowing names and things. Like her grandma, all of a sudden, everybody was honey or sweetie or never a name,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
things like that. And
I do that now.
looking back, we should-
One of the sadder things that I remember about Dad waking up in the morning, and he did this more than once, is he would just look at me and say, who am I? And I think that was early on when he knew there was something wrong and he wasn't sure. And
You wonder how it's impossible to know what that's like.
Mm-hmm.
To not know.
I know I can't.
I mean, you can't even think that way.
Hey Bill, you had to tell him that when we were in the country kitchen with Mom and Dad one time, and you came
Oh,
in the
yeah.
restroom.
I went into the restroom and then I was coming out and he was walking in and he looked at me and said, "What are you doing here?"
And you all were together.
Yeah,
Oh. Oh.
was it fancy meeting you here?
Something like that.
Yeah.
A funny story, and I don't think it had anything to do with his legitimately with his memory, because it seemed like it was before this. But we brought, I don't know if we brought bikes over or whatever, but we went. We took you and Chad, and you went with us. We went for a bike ride, and Dad had even said he hadn't been on a bike for years. So we were going down the road and started out and turning right down here or whatever. And at the first time we all needed to kind of slow down and stop, he had no idea how to stop the bike because he was going backwards because he thought the only bike he'd ever rode, you would
Wow.
brake by
Yeah.
backing-
Yeah.
backpedaling basically opposed to handbrake.
So he's on a 10-speed or something?
It was on like a 3-speed or whatever, and he didn't know how to stop it. It was funny, and I don't think it had anything to do at that time even with memory. He just
No.
had
Yeah, innocent mistake, yeah.
I never thought twice about it to tell him that. But
It's like, how do you tell them, like,
how do you stop this?
how do you stop this?
It's like getting in a stick shift when all you know is an automatic.
Right.
Did Dad teach you how to drive, or did you were already doing it before?
Dad, I did driver's ed the same time Barry,
School,
I
right?
think. I was a
School.
senior. But I had waited. So I was a senior and you were a sophomore or whatever that
Yeah.
would have been, and we did driver's ed together. And so I remember him taking me through some area where it was like parks or something, so it wasn't traffic. But it was in that big station wagon, and I pulled forward and didn't see the little parking concrete thing and went right over it with like one tire.
Oh.
And it was, and I totally remember he was like not verbally upset, but you could tell, oh my goodness. So he got all the blankets out and had to do this whole thing to make a ramp so we could get it back over that thing. But he made me, he, instead of continuing to drive himself because he was like tired of it, he was like, no, you need to get back in. And then all of that was great, except I still failed.
Right.
Oh, no.
I failed.
Same day, we took the same day, right?
Yeah, but I failed and you didn't, because I failed parallel parking. Because
Oh, well.
parallel parking with cones
Yeah,
doesn't make
I
any
remember
sense.
that.
I'm sorry.
Well, when I used to drive with him,
Parallel
I
parking.
could
doesn't
never.
make any sense.
Whenever I turned from Chambersburg onto that one road, I always went up on the curbs. For some reason, I always missed, And then here he is in the front seat, every time I was going, he was like. I actually did my license. I didn't get get my license until I moved in with the Williams family. Williams, so.
Really?
I didn't get my license
Yeah.
until Atlanta, Georgia, in the military because I wanted to buy a car. I'm like, oh, I gotta get a license. And I may or may not have driven illegally a friend's car, but that's
Well, I don't remember how many times I got whacked by Dad, but it wasn't very many. So one of the times was when we were living in Indiana, and it was 4th of July. You remember this?
In Indiana?
Indiana? Muncie?
Oh, throwing it.
Okay, so it's 4th of July, and Dad must have gone and bought some firecrackers or something. It was minimal, whatever it was, but it was summer. He was leaving the house. He must have been working, I guess. And the last thing he said to us was, don't mess around with the fireworks. So as soon as he left, I wanted to light fireworks in the fireplace. And I asked, I was at home with you. I said, you're not going to tell, are you? Oh, no, I won't tell. As soon as Dad got home, were you guys in the fireplace? And he we did it. I got whacked.
I don't remember that entirely.
Do you remember that time? Do you remember that time that we had done something? I can't remember what it was we did, and Dad would tell us he was going to paddle us when we got home.
so we patted our underwear.
Yeah.
But okay, so I remember one of those times. Well, this is what I remember. I remember us all being in the station wagon, and Dad goes into the store, and it's starting to rain, or it looked like it could
we
rain.
wanted the window open.
We wanted him to leave the station
Yeah.
wagon window open, and I feel like I remember him saying, like, well, if it rains, you guys are in trouble. But we begged and begged, please, Dad, leave the window open. And so, of course, it started to rain while he was in the grocery store. And so I think that I internalized that as we're going to get spanked. And so maybe that's the time we're talking about where we went home and patted our underwear in anticipation of a spanking that never happened.
Right.
And see, I don't ever remember getting spanked. I just remember worrying about that time.
I do.
That-
Yeah.
So I don't
I
know.
remember
I don't
that.
know if
Did you ever get spanked?
I remember getting spanked when I was real little, but I think that the first 6 years of school, he was the principal of the school I went to. I think I was better. I didn't act up at school, especially because I knew I'd get it twice as bad at home if I.
That's
the way I
right.
felt. So I don't think I acted up for that reason, but I know I got spanked a couple times at least.
I
just
think
don't-
I got my share of them.
So tell me what your dad did when you started the fire outside of the bags.
No.
Well, that was, I don't know what do you remember what punishment? I don't know if I even got punished, but
I don't remember.
it was,
Was,
you do?
was I
the
was
story
I
was
you
working?
do?
relative.
Was I
Well-
working? I just
You know where we lived on Corsica there? There, in the front of the house, on the very left side, in front of that window in the front of the living room.
Oh, the bush.
There's a bush
Yeah,
the
there.
burning bush.
And Rob actually was my friend Rob. I don't know if you remember Rob. Okay. So we put a smoke bomb in that bush. Well, I don't know if it was in the middle of the summer, whatever. Everything was quite dry. So the bush started on fire. Just underneath, it was a small flame. So I took off running around the house, and I got a glass of water to come around and throw it out. So I come around, and Rob tells me this because he just cracks up every time. I come around running full steam ahead with a glass of water, and the bush is engulfed in
Oh,
flame.
no.
And I just tossed it on and never slowed down or went around to get my hose. But I guess we put it out. But John was upstairs in our bedroom, which was right above this bush. So he's in the window just screaming bloody murder because the smoke's coming up that way. So it was funny.
So you don't remember?
I don't recall.
I remember that.
I'm sure I got punished for that. I don't know. What
I
he
don't
said.
remember.
Yeah.
I don't remember.
You guys weren't. I don't think you were home at the time.
I don't think we were.
I know you. Well, you obviously saw it.
So was it the burnt bush when they got home? Is that what set it off, or how'd they find out?
Well, I mean, yeah,
Surely
it was,
the fire
it was
was
quite
out by then.
noticeable. It wasn't burned down, but it was quite black. Yeah, that was stupid.
I don't know what Dad ever thought of the neighbor, Thelma. Did he ever say anything about her?
I
Because
wonder if it
she
was
used to watch
summertime when you got
John.
locked in the car.
Yeah.
Say what?
Was it summertime? Did he lock the doors? The day you asked him to put the window down and it rained?
Oh,
Because if he hadn't, you'd be in there with the windows up, right? Which today, people would crucify.
Oh.
Leaving
Oh,
kids in the car.
yeah.
It's
Oh,
We
amazing.
didn't have seatbelts back
It's
then, so-
amazing that we lived.
Yeah.
You know, I remember driving down the road, all three of us kids hanging out the back of a station wagon
Mm-hmm.
with no seat in the back, but we're all hanging out the back window.
Yeah.
And today we'd be arrested. For,
Yeah.
We got
Yeah.
3
Well, and-
plus a collie.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Charlie was always the pillow on trips. But I remember when we went to California. Do you remember how we traveled? It was like all of our clothing was our mattress in the back of the.
Oh yeah, that was
Yeah.
one stop.
And I don't know if that was only California or if we did that other move every time we moved, because I do remember one time on one of our moves, some clothing flew out of the station wagon, like kids'
I
clothes,
remember that.
and yeah, I just have one memory of that. So we must have done that every time we moved. Maybe that was one way we packed our clothing,
Yeah, I think you're right.
which is smart when you think about it.
Nice.
Do we all remember the trip to New York,
York?
to pick up
I
to
do.
pick up the Cindy?
Vaguely. I vaguely remember the idea of it. I don't.
And
I don't
sleeping
remember
in a-
specific-
sleeping
We've
in a-
only been about, what,
Yeah,
4 or
was-
5?
Yeah.
So we would have all
I
slept in
remember
a tent.
being in the station wagon and looking. We were laying down in the back and looking up in the Empire State Building. I remember that, I believe, but
Oh, see,
Okay.
and I
I
don't
remember
remember.
Niagara
oh,
Falls.
vaguely being there. But as far as
And my main memory is of the tent and Mom putting a lightning bug in our tent so we would have light.
Wow.
It's like, and do you remember we stopped at some kind of a restaurant and
Italian.
the
Italian.
Yes.
Yes.
and the toilet overflowed or something when I had gone to the
Yes.
bathroom, and it was this whole thing where all of a sudden you got these mad Italians. They may not have been mad, but they were very emotional about this situation in the bathroom. I don't.
Yeah, I vaguely remember that.
I don't remember. We camped. I don't even remember camping.
I just remember
not
the
sure.
one night and the lightning bug, but that was
I
how we
I don't
split up the
remember.
trip apparently instead of a motel, I guess.
Yeah,
Didn't we camped out one time before when we were moving somewhere? Did we camp out?
I don't
I only remember the time of picking up
I don't
Cindy.
remember having a tent. We had a tent?
I felt like you and Dad.
Yeah, we used
slept
to sleep out in the
station
tent.
wagon.
Peggy and I used to sleep out so that
We did.
Oh,
We
okay.
in Toledo.
the boys would come and visit us.
Okay.
Yeah, the tent.
Namely
We
you.
used to sleep out a lot, remember?
Well, and I do remember your brother being the legitimate
Ah,
first peeping Tom
yeah.
that I ever,
Yeah.
Literally.
literally, his name's Tom.
I think I did that with him a couple times. Up in the tree, you mean, or
Huh?
or what? Oh,
Not-
we used to climb up, and when Tina had her friends over at the pool, we'd climb up in that tree and just watch.
Okay.
No,
Well,
this would have been
it
more.
seemed
of
like
a-
that's just what you did. I didn't think much of it at the time.
and I know Dad he would agree because he'd often talked about the Southdale, like the
Yes.
what a
Yes.
great street to
Yes.
have
We
lived
thought
in
that was a
Toledo.
perfect place.
Well, that one time, I don't know if we were doing that. It was the tree right behind the Good Nose
Yes.
backyard. It was right next door.
Yes,
right?
yes.
Yeah. So we were up there, and I don't know what happened, but I literally fell out of the tree from about, what seemed like 30 feet up. I was probably 10 or 15, I don't know. But I just came, my armpits over 2 limbs when I was on my way down. And I didn't even catch myself, it just caught me. And
Wow.
I'll never forgot that because I don't know what would happen to me otherwise. Yeah,
Wow.
It seemed like higher than it probably was, but
It's a wonder you didn't.
that whole street is much smaller than
I know. I
I
know.
went back there, 10, 15 years ago or whatever, and went up there, and I was just shocked how small everything was. The
Yes.
houses, everything.
Yes.
It
Yes.
just seemed like a normal street at the time. but
Yes.
and I guess it is, but it just seemed bigger, The street we played kickball in and all that seemed much bigger. It's so small. But
Yep.
that's, I found
Your
that-
dad lamented maybe, I don't know if that's the right word or not, but the fact that because he was on staff and we had to be there all the time, when they had a street party, I think once, and it was on a Sunday night, and he lamented the fact that that we couldn't as a family, participate in that, so.
Remember the blizzard of '78 when you made
Grilled cheese for all the neighbors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We were the only ones with a gas stove.
Or was it electric?
I remember.
Whatever the right answer.
I remember
would be.
going out and playing in the snow and stuff, but I don't recall you doing that. So, and
I do.
I remember you
Anyway.
and John out in the snow. You built a fort, and I think you had a slide or something, and you put him on there and slide him down it.
Well, I talked that snow. The drifts were up to our gutters basically, or whatever. Well, I'm thinking at that time that's 20 feet or whatever. When going back, the house was so small, it was probably only 8 or 10. But it seemed like much bigger again. But
Do you remember when Dad tried to grow corn in the pool?
oh yeah,
I do.
oh, yeah.
I do.
It had green like fungus. I thought we could.
I thought, it's a good idea. Good thought. Didn't work out.
See, that was the other thing. That backyard seemed so big, and it probably was
yeah.
tiny. The
But
creek.
that run,
Well, and the creek, I suppose, wasn't really a creek, but I mean, would you call that a creek
yeah,
that was back
I
there?
didn't
We
walk
called it a creek.
all the way back to
It's
when
a
I was back
drainage
there
ditch,
last time, but
probably.
when it rained, it got full, but
It did.
Yeah.
but it was, I'm sure it was nothing otherwise.
Wouldn't you think that was a drainage ditch?
I don't know.
My
If it was
recollection, if it was initially a drainage ditch, it had turned into a little creek.
Yeah.
And there was always water in
Yeah,
it.
there was
Yeah,
always
there
water.
was.
It was moving.
Yeah.
Was it a
moving.
pear tree we had back there?
But,
It was
we
a
did
pear.
have a pear.
Yeah.
Pear tree. I
It was
remember
always hard as a
throwing
rock.
We didn't have a
pears.
partridge in it, but we had a pear.
Pears. I remember throwing pears periodically over the fence to the people on the other side, and I think they came over once because, well.
It's surprising they didn't come over all the times Mark was hitting golf balls over there.
Yeah.
Because I hit mine several rows over, so they didn't know where it
We used to throw, in Indiana, we used to throw the apples and stuff.
Crab
was.
apples.
2 apples at the
Truck,
semis.
semis going by.
Well, that was our neighbor. That was he
Yeah,
was
that was,
bad.
Oh,
yeah,
that was
you're
in
right. That was
Indiana.
more his.
In Indiana, Greg.
I tell you what,
Greg.
I don't know, you probably don't remember this, but, I, of course, always thought you were a good athlete for almost anything you did, but throwing I don't know if it was an apple or what it was, from about 30 or 40 feet at a dove. I don't think you ever meant to hit it, but on a dove sitting on the wire up, way up, and he drilled that thing, killed it. I mean, he nailed it. I was like, wow.